Hello? Yeah, girl, Giselle, what going on? Girl, I they are tired. You hearing it in my voice? Yeah, girl. Dramas, you understand with that insomnia with Lani. But he alright. Yeah, he there rocking on your recliner from court, Starboy. You understand? At least Chucky leaves something for him. And Chucky went and paid cash for that, eh? You understand? So I get to keep something. Yeah. But, well, Uncle George tell you. Girl, Uncle George like bacchanal. My ex-father-in-law is the best, you understand? I just tell him, use my father-in-law for life. Use my homie, you understand? Girl, the other day, I take Lani to music class. Cause you know, Uncle George just run a little music school and thing, right? Since he retired from teaching. All right. So he run any school, thing going on nice. Lani loving the class. I mean, Lani real performing with the music and thing, right? Girl, the other day I reached to pick up my child. Uncle George is to tell me that, you know, it has some parents start to pull out the children, they give me an ultimatum. I say, an ultimatum in your school? I say, what happened? He said, girl, them people watch me and tell me they realize Lani autistic and they don't want the children around Lani because they feel the children go catch autism, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know, as you keep talking, all I hear in my head is blah, 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 blah. Okay, I start to get hot. You understand? The battle axe in me start to rise up. So, girl, I say, Uncle George, them parents here today or what? He say, yeah, girl, you see them three women over there? I say, so? I say, okay, I go handle that for you. I went outside. I say, good afternoon, ladies. I say, I is Lani's mother. I say, the autistic child. I say, the autistic child that all you seem to have a problem with. You understand? I say, but let me tell all you what problems all you need to be studying instead of discriminating against my innocent child. You understand? I say, you, with your face like a damn puffer fish, right? I say, what you need to be studying is your husband who does being hired every Friday evening, tracking all them waitresses and them, you understand? I say, that's what you need to be studying. I say, and you, miss, I don't even know what to call you. You understand? I don't know where to begin. I say, but anyway, what you need to be studying is the NIS that your husband will be paying for you workers and them. You understand? I say, but don't worry, NIS will be calling all you because I don't place a call to NIS, okay? You shouldn't discriminate against your workers, NIS. You understand? I say, and I'm saving you for last. You, Miss COVID herself. I say, imagine you went Miami. You understand? Miami. With your damn fake accent. Going in the people's whole wedding with your whole COVID. Give the whole wedding party COVID. You understand? With your whole self. And you come in to talk about discriminating against my son. My son will catch, your children will catch autism from my child. I say, you're mad or what? You understand? Giselle, I just understand. People just feel disgust for what they don't understand. They just feel fear for what they don't understand. But you're a big woman, and we living in a world now, you could Google something to understand it. You understand? Anybody could take up a phone, Google, whatever search app thing it have, Google autism to understand a little more. You understand? So you ain't seeing the whole series on TV6 to learn, big up TV6, you understand? You ain't seen the whole thing on TV6 to understand about autism. Anybody discriminating these days against children with autism or any kind of disability, girls should be ashamed, especially when cause and effect doing the series week after week after week. You understand? So anyway, that was what happened, girl. I went in the battle axe mode, I chop off some neck and thing. I take names and I went away. Yeah, Uncle George was laughing after. He said, oh gosh, Giselle, you had to rough them up. So I said, of course, Uncle George, they rough up your grandson. I had to rough them up. That is my job as his mother. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, that was that. Anyway, I'll go see you later. You will come through. I'll save food for you. All right, bye.
Is a fact. Strictly facts. And is that The very first public meltdown Joaquin ever had was about a year before he was diagnosed. And I had no idea what I was dealing with. No idea. I just knew that I had a child on the ground who would not move, who was crying, who was lashing out, and it was the middle of the mall, Christmas time. I had about 4 or 5 bags, and so I couldn't physically lift him up with the bags, and it was just sort of surreal, just stuck in this moment and not knowing what to do.
It's a different kind of mind. It is probably a little different than yours and mine. It's a different kind of mind. It's an old puzzle if you just try. Oh me, oh my. The rainbow scene and a brand new vibe. Oh me, oh my. 4, 3, 2.
And there was, I imagine there were people watching, but I've sort of been oblivious to that. But there was one particular gentleman who I saw him approaching, and I was a little bit nervous, as to why he was coming. And all of a sudden, he just brought out this little toy truck and asked if he could give it to Joaquin. And I was like, yeah, sure. And he gave Joaquin the toy truck, and that ended the meltdown. But there have been, afterwards, getting the diagnosis, looking back and realizing what it was had happened. It had been the noise, the colors, the people, everything. He just reached his threshold. And it gave me a lot more information in terms of how to then navigate those sort of trips and what could work and what wouldn't work. And he's had meltdowns already since he's gotten older. And for me, it's just mainly to try and get him out of the area, get him to a safe place where he could then release whatever is going on.
Meltdowns are, first of all, very different from a tantrum. So I think that's one of the first things that we should all take time to realize. There's a difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. So when a student is having a meltdown, it is a response to the external stimuli. So internally, they feel extremely overwhelmed. So they're at the point of, I can't contain this anymore. I need to have a behavioral release. And that could come in many forms, where maybe they throw themselves down on the floor and they scream. Sometimes they start to hurt themselves, they scratch themselves, or they lash out at other people. And meltdowns can take generally a longer time for the child to settle. So a great way to distinguish between the two is if a child begins to display a certain type of behavior, like what was just explained, and because they didn't get what they wanted and you give it to them, if the child settles down after, that's a tantrum. But if you give them what they want and the behavior continues over a prolonged period of time, that's a meltdown. So one of the best things that teachers can do is to let the child be. Let them be for a while. Let them release the emotion that they're feeling. And of course, you check in every once in a while. You don't always have to leave them alone, but give them the space to be. And then go to them, talk to them in a soft voice. Because shouting at them or shouting over them for them to hear you is like fighting fire with fire. So once you go to them and you talk to them when it seems like they're a little bit calmer, then you can have a conversation. You can say what's happening, what's the problem, what are you screaming for, and things like that. It's important to get them to a safe space. If you can't get them to a safe space, you can ask everybody to please give you the room so they can have the room for themselves. A great way for teachers to be mindful, especially with autistic children who are prone to have meltdowns at times, you need to focus on the ABCs of behavior. So A being antecedent, so what happens before the behavior. This would take a lot of observation. You have to observe, which means writing down anything that happens before the behavior comes to pass. The next one is the behavior. So you look at the behavior, and the antecedent really helps you to understand the trigger. And then the C is the consequence, where it be taking them to a safe space, or if they destroyed something, you take that away from them so they don't destroy it further or bring destruction to themselves. So you really remove anything that could really endanger the child. And a lot of the time you get to understand the child further, so you can avoid having meltdowns when you remove the triggers that may occur when a meltdown happens. So teachers must be mindful of that, a lot of observation. It takes a lot of trial and error because, of course, you have to learn what consequence works best. And I think a lot of the times people get confused when we say consequence. They think, we mean to hit the child or put them in a timeout. It's not necessarily, we don't necessarily go to that end or that extreme. There are times when timeouts have to be introduced, but hitting a child is never okay, especially when they're on the brink of a meltdown. They are trying to make sense of everything that's going on with them and think about when you are overwhelmed, how you feel. So it's always important to look at the ABCs of the behavior, so that way you can help to curb the meltdowns as they come. And with that, you tend to see a decrease in meltdowns over time.
All your watching audience, what going on is all your girl Giselle Mary Juanita Alvarez, the one and only. You understand? Anyway, I'm here to encourage all you to keep supporting the autism series by supporting Cause and Effect. You understand? Go to the social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and the website www.causeandeffect.co, and press that donate button today. Press that donate button. Help us to continue producing disability sensitization campaigns to help transform the society, to help the society embrace people with disabilities. You understand? It's 2022. We can't afford to be dealing up in no kind of discrimination. We moving past all of that. So big up TV6 for showing this work, and big up to the audience for tuning in, for supporting and loving this. I'll go see you all soon.
It's a different kind of mind. It is bubble different than yours and mine. It's a different kind of mind. It's an old puzzle if you just try.